Okay, it looks like it's recording right now. Hello everyone, this is Sora Donald Goofy 99, and I've decided to make another tier list video today. At first I was going to make it with something else, but I'm not done testing. I'm not testing for the tier list I was initially planning, so instead we're going to do this. It's going to be every single Ben 10 alien, just in my personal opinion, ranked from worst to best. I more or less know where I'm going to put everyone. Not quite sure where notes are going to be. If I end up shifting a few people around, then fine, but this is ranking every alien that Ben has turned into on screen in the everything from the classic series to Omniverse. There's already a reboot tier where I'm not going to be rating these guys because I don't have very. Okay, Overflow is like a ripoff of Water Hazard. I wish they at least gave him a different color scheme. Gax is cool, like extremely cool, but he only appeared for like the one part. Shock Rock, I absolutely love, despite the fact he came from the reboot. But again, this is for the first four series. Slapback is alright. I don't know how to feel about Surge. So we're just going to be talking about everything from classic series all the way to the end of Omniverse, where we're going to be rating every transformation that had an appearance on screen. And I put them and I listed them here in order from their first appearance. We're not going to be factoring in ultimate forms too much because not every one of them has an ultimate form. So we're just going to start with Heat Blast. And for me, Heat Blast is a straight S tier alien. Oh my god, I love this guy. Like, as soon as I saw him hit the screen, he was perfect, spot on alien. This, with with me and fire, is like fire is one of my favorite elements that a character can manipulate. Heat Blast does that very well. He had an insanely cool voice in the classic series. Ultimate Alien, he didn't sound that great in Omniverse. It kind of brought that back, and honestly, well, I would have chosen to stick with the classic design. Heat Blast generally looked good in all of the series he appeared in. I don't have any issues with Heat Blast. I have loved him since his appearance, and he's still one of my top 10 favorite aliens to this day. I love him to death. Moving on from Heat Blast, though, Wild Mutt. I've never had strong feelings on Wild Mutt. I feel that he's C tier, which C tier, that's the point where it's like, I really don't love or hate them extremely, but they're here because I don't have a ton of feelings for them. Wild Mutt is nice. I wish. I mean, well, it's like I said before. I don't really think about the ultimates too much, but I wish Ultimate Wild Mutt was like Wild Mutt's default design all the time. I mean, even the Ben 10,000 version of him got a tail, and I think he looked way better with like the stripes and the tail, and the Omnitrix symbol on his face was kind of whatever. But the Ben 10,000 Wild Mutt design is probably one of my favorites. I wish they had just gone with that look for like the whole rest of the show, but they did not. I mean, not that the Wild Mutt we got looks bad. I just have never been able to fully get behind that design. It's like some kind of weird gorilla mutt hybrid kind of creature. And they always said that he could shoot off his quills like they were missiles. Wild Mutt has never done that. So he's basically just an alien attack dog. That's all he is. Diamond Head. Diamond Head for me is A tier. And I've always liked Diamond Head. I've hardly ever had any sort of problem with him. I think his only real weakness is sound. Like, if he gets hit hard enough, yeah, he'll of course crack a bit, but sound just immediately debilitates Diamond Head. The Echo scream at him, he'll just stop dead in his tracks. He'll probably collapse after that too. The Kevin 11,000 episode, he just like, even Blitzwolfer screams were enough to stop Diamond Head from being good. Like being good against him. But other than that, you could do everything with diamonds. Shoot diamond shards, send freaking energy. You get like refract energy beams like like he did in the very first episode of the show. He can make his hands into blade weapons, make his hands, shoot diamond shards. I think and something that another version of Diamond Head did, which was Tetrax, which is like another version of his species, he took the blades off his back and chucked them like boomerangs. That was so cool. Diamond Head has never had a bad design. My favorite design of him is actually the Alien Force Ultimate Alien version, if anything. He's so great. I love him. Diamond Head definitely deserves the A tier spot. And Accelerate for me, S tier above Heat Blast. It's one of the overall best designs out of any of the Ben 10 aliens. He's super fast. I love that. He can zoom around. He has that like a tornado attack. He's so fast he's so fast that a camera could barely keep track of him. And you gotta love Accelerate. He's so good. I love his design. He's he's got the tail, he's got the wheels in his feet, which part of what makes him move faster. He can even move quick. His claws are sharp. Super fast kicking, super fast punches. All he is speed, but that is all he needs. Plus, his design is one of the absolute most radical looks. I don't care how outdated I sound. That pretty much covers how I feel about Accelerate. S tier, one of them. I feel like this is going to be like another top heavy list like the first one I did. Gray Matter. Okay, I know this is going to be a hot take. I'm sorry, he's E tier for me. Because pretty much every alien is good in combat in some, like, is useful in combat in some form or another. But Gray Matter is not, and that's not his purpose, I agree. But he doesn't have anything else going for him besides his smarts. He's got sharp teeth, his slippery skin's kind of good. And he was able to take control of one, like, creature by controlling its nerve endings on the outside, so he was kind of able to figure out how to do that. And yeah, sure, he has one combat move, which is essentially a Vulcan nerve pinch. But they call it the Hephaestionero grip. Just grab and then, has brought the guy right down, but it's like his only real combat move. And his ultimate form upgrade is fine. It's like functional, but I hate how it looks. I guess I am including the ultimate forms then. Screw it. Okay. Since I can't help but think about it, we'll just talk about the ultimate forms as well. But even including the ultimate albedo or ultimate Galvin form, it doesn't really elevate gray matter up much for me. Because I'm rating them based on my overall feelings of the form itself. And gray matter I have never liked, even since the start of the show. It was like the one form that I kind of always had an issue or problem with. And it's not that I hate gray matter, I just dislike him more than I like him. Forearms, though, was my absolute favorite of the classic 10. Essentially the red version of Hulk with an extra set of arms, sure. But I loved how he looked. He could hit hard, he could punch hard, he could do everything having to do with super strength. Just hit everything. Super hard. He's so strong. I love him. Top tier. I mean, that probably explains how I feel about some of the other super tough, strong, durable aliens. The only real problem is that forearms can't fit into a lot of, I'm gonna take this off my head. Doesn't fit into a lot of special areas. Like, yeah, he's really only good at one thing, sure, that's like his one downside. Everything else about him, though, is fantastic, and most of the time, I would say he's worth it. Unga Bunga Smash, you know what I mean? I've never been against, like, Unga Bunga style things, and forearms really falls into that. Stinkfly, though, I know a lot of people look down on him now, and I really can't see myself putting Stinkfly any higher than C, but I do like him more than Wildmutt. He's just much more useful than Wildmutt to me. He can actually communicate. He's good at flying. I'm a little distracted. Deleting a message real quick. My apologies. Doing this on my phone, by the way. Okay. But yeah, Stinkfly's pretty good. He is clearly not top tier. I do agree with people on that, but he's like Ben's first flyer, and honestly, like, Stink. I mean, once he figured out that Heat Blast could fly, I would say that kind of trumped Stinkfly immediately. But Stinkfly had like the niche use of his goop, which was sometimes good at putting out fires. It was sometimes good at being an explosive combined with the fire, as you would see in the a Kevin episode when he and Ben are trapped in an intergalactic coliseum. Um, but yeah, Stinkfly's good. He does have a pretty durable exoskeleton. Yeah, his wings don't work when it's wet, but a lot of bugs work that way, so that I'm not super surprised at that. But yeah, the goop was like kind of Stinkfly's thing. There really wasn't much of a reason to not have him on board. Stinkfly's just he's like overall good though. I would say he has more uses than not, even though a bunch of aliens are better than him, and I 100% agree with that. Ripjaws, okay, he has one very huge weakness, which I can't really put him any higher than D tier, but I think he's going to be the highest one in D tier. Like, every time I reviewed a Ben 10 tier list compilation, at least for myself, Ripjaws, I just felt they couldn't put him any higher than D, and that's only because he can't breathe on land, even though he can walk on it. But he's an underwater fish alien. He's got strong jaws. He's not a bad fighter whatsoever. And that antenna thing's good for lighting up dark areas. Ripjaws is pretty good. I'd say he's good. He's cool. He does have some use. I really have no issue with Ripjaws. Like, really, to be perfectly honest, I think he's good. He's cool, but he's not great. And the only reason he's in D tier is that his one weakness really hinders and hampers his uses, in my honest opinion. Upgrade. My man. I don't know if B tier is too low, but I really can't think of anywhere else to drop him. He's definitely an above average alien. His utility is amazing though. Excuse me. Considering how much alien tech that they have to deal with, and sometimes gray matter may be better at like ascertaining the purpose of and figuring out a counter use to certain alien tech. Yeah, upgrade is sweet. There really is no reason not to like him. I mean, plus he has like an eye beam from like the one eye here, although the Omnitrix symbol is not always on his eye. That I prefer the Ultimate Alien slash Generator Rex style where it's still on his chest, but you get like the circle eye. This It's like it doesn't look that different from that, but the Omnitrix symbol being like in the center of the eye is not really a place I'd want to go with that. I really have no opinion on that. Forearms Mr. T design is great. I was actually fine with the Gladiator look too from Ultimate Alien. But I don't. I'm not going to bring up design too much unless the design change is something that really gets to me. We will get to that a bit later, but yeah. Upgrade's only real weaknesses are electricity and I suppose water, but you zap him hard enough, you kind of short circuit him, he gets a little bit frazzled. But if there's not a ton of machines, he really can't do that much. Although in the Sumo Slammers game, it showed that he could shapeshift his hands into weapons and he can like grow plasma spikes out of himself. So he can kind of fight without the use of tech, which is good, but he's way better when technology's actually around. And it doesn't even have to be alien tech, it can be Earth technology. If it's any technology, he can combine himself with it, make it better, amp it up. He's just great. And the only and it's also kind of B tier more than A because ship turned into a whole freaking battleship, and I remembered hearing somewhere that Ben can't really do that because his organic half kind of clashes with Upgrade's DNA, so that he doesn't get the full scope of Upgrade's abilities. But with what he does have, I feel like B tier is like a pretty dang good spot to drop him in. Ghost Freak is definitely another one of my top favorites, and I would put him over Upgrade in no. He's like just under Diamond Head in A tier, I think. In the classic series, he was able to like kind of use them until he broke out, and then he turned into him like once in Alien Force where he didn't have the cloak, once in Ultimate Alien where he magically got his cloak back. And then in Omniverse, he was finally back in the regular rotation. With how many powers Ghost Freak does have, you would think he'd be Ben's best alien out of the classic 10. Like objectively, I think there is some case to that. He can't be. He has invisibility, intangibility. He can fly, which kind of immediately puts him above Stinkfly. He can shoot energy beams. He has telekinetic powers. He can grow tentacles out of his gut, and like those are pretty strong. I guess he has telepathy as well, at least while he's possessing someone. Oh, which by the way, he can possess people and take over them. It does not work on undead people though. That's like the one downside to that, but that's not that bad of a downside if you ask me. Ghost Freak is. I mean, think about the only things he doesn't really have are like super speed and super strength. And I would at least believe his tentacles are stronger than his arms. He's not much of a puncher, but he can hit hard if he has to. So Ghost Freak can do a lot of amazing stuff. He's technically stronger when he's not wearing his cloak. Although I love his Omniverse design with like the chains going around his body. That just completes the design for me. Ghost Freak is an absolute monster. Literal monster. I love him. He's cool. I wish he got more appearances throughout the show. I think he deserved it instead of being sidelined for like 3 shows until Omniverse brought him back. And Ghost Freak never, ever had a bad voice actor. Even though I think I think Steve Bloom in Classic was probably his best one. I mean, yeah, the Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, Jeff Bennett, he still sounds creepy enough and he's fine. I don't really have any complaints. Yeah, it doesn't sound like the original, but it was an okay substitute. And that's the original 10. I feel like every one of these forms are great. Except possibly Gray Matter. But whatever. We're gonna move on to Cannon Bolts. I believe he goes here, in between Diamond Head and Ghost Freak. And Cannonbolt was always fun for me. The first time I saw him wasn't his debut episode. It was when it was the episode again where Ben and Kevin got trapped in the gladiator arena together. I'm like, oh my god, Ben has more than 10 aliens. Heck yes. Like, yeah, he has a pretty decent assortment of powers, but there are some other ones that I wish he kind of had access to in a way. Like, and Cannonbolt showed me, hey, there's gotta be so many other aliens in this thing. Especially considering how many other aliens he saw in the future. Like, he got obtained in the future. Cannonbolt can reflect lasers like Diamond Head. I mean, he can't absorb them into himself. They just bounce off his armor plating. He can bounce off of literally anything when he's rolled up into a ball. Cannonbolt is a pinball style wrecking ball that's basically indestructible, and I think he's very, very good. His only downside is that he cannot move very well at all when he's not in his ball form. And virtually, it, and I know this has nothing to do with the show, but in virtually every single game that you can play as Cannonbolt in, actually, half the games I played where Cannonbolt is in, he is broken. I will always go to him whenever I need to just kill a bunch of crowds of enemies super fast. He is that good. I mean, yeah, not all of his attacks are broken in every game, but hey, he is super, super good. It's like, yeah, 3 out of 4 games he appeared in, he was this absolutely broken and busted transformation. At least that I've played. I can't speak for every single Ben 10 game he's appeared in. And as far as his ultimate form, I think the only downside of his ultimate form is that he's a little bit slower. But they actually gave him more super strength. He can at least hit harder than he could in his normal form. He's way more durable. He's got spikes on his shell. He's absolutely busted. His ultimate cannonball. He's great. I love him. I just honestly, I just wish Cannonbolt was like, and he even came. Cannonbolt gets frequent appearances for a reason. A lot of people love him. He's an extremely effective alien in my eyes. A tier. The only reason he's not S is because I'm not 100% into his design, I guess. It's like, yeah, he's great. He's awesome. I guess his design is just isn't as cool as it could be, I guess, but that's kind of whatever. It's very opinionated take on that. Wildvine, for a plant alien, I think he's good. He's cool. But I can't put him anywhere above C, and I do like him more than Wild Mutt. He just do way more than Wild Mutt can. He's got elasticity, stretchy arms. He can grow thorns out of himself. He has the pod grenades. He can generate sleeping gas. It's like he can do a lot of things, but he's not like super duper strong. And I've never been the biggest fan of like fictional plant style characters. This is for me this is very opinionated. Wildvine is like very average, middle of the road kind of alien. For me. Now he's great. I didn't even find out he had regeneration until later. I was like, I mean, yeah, that helps. But I've never 100% been for Wildvine. Like, this Venus flytrap thing is actually more decoration than it is for combat. And while his voice didn't change much, a lot of people have like compared his voice to a hippie voice. I kind of see where they're coming from, not gonna lie. But he's good. Wildvine is awesome. As far as plants, I guess. Man, I don't even know what to say. Wildvine is okay. He's cool. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than he's just not like the absolute best alien in my opinion. There are a lot of things he can do that are great. It's just very personal, not my favorite kind of alien. And I guess we're jumping into the three future aliens. We'll go to Spitter now, and he's probably objectively like D or below, but I still personally kind of like him, so he's in C. I used to like him a lot more as a kid. Or as like a really young teenager, that was when Ben 10 came out for me. All he really does is spray slime at people. And some people even say it's like acidic slime. I've never seen it like start to dissolve anything. I mean, I guess there was some smoke coming off of Kevin 11,000 when Ken blasted him. But it does work in combination with electricity. The slime does conduct electricity. So I guess he's good when used in tandem with other transformations, but by himself he's not that great. He's cool, but he's not like, I kind of hesitate to even say cool for Spitter. He's like alright, but I don't feel like he's D tier for some reason. It just doesn't feel like D to me. Buzzshock though, very easy B tier. And even put him above upgrade, just a tiny bit. Unless we stick some more people in between, which we just might. I don't know. He was like the first alien, the first electric alien we saw on screen. And I wish Ben 10,000 gave Classic Ben the like three forms he showed off in that episode just to, give him a little more variety after he lost Ghost Freak. Like, dude, you lost intangibility, man. Like I would have loved to see like Spitter, Buzzshock, and Arctiguana come into the show after this point. Like, Buzzshock is definitely cool. And he does way more than just shoot lightning bolts. If you charge him up enough, he can actually multiply himself like Ditto or Echo Echo. He can travel through power lines, control electricity in general. Get enough of them together, they can actually scream like Echo Echo. So he's like Echo Echo plus. As far as like combat effectiveness and how cool he is, he's pretty high up there. I mean, but you trap enough of them in like an insulated area, they can't do anything. Really, is a pretty big downside. I mean, like their first appearance in the show, they were trapped in a giant. There was one of them trapped in a giant ball of rubber bands, and it couldn't do anything. So yeah, you wrap this guy up in rubber, he's useless. But then you go, oh wait, I can just slap my Omnitrix symbol and turn into someone else to get out of this. Isn't that bad? By himself, though, yeah, he is a giant. He is essentially just a giant walking battery, but I like him. He's cool. I love the like design with his face and like little mischievous looking teeth. Bullshock is nice. Arctiguana, I guess we can put him one spot above Spitter. He just breathes ice at people, and that's kind of all he does. Now, I think his ice is colder than Big Chill's, and like that gives him a reason to be used over Big Chill. He froze an entire like tsunami of lava in the episode he showed up in an Omniverse. But he's just I just think he's cool. Just he just breathes ice. Some people say he can breathe underwater and swim, and from what I've seen in Omniverse video games, he has like a decently strong claw swipe. He can like swipe his claws at people like Wildmutt. But I just think Wildmutt looks a little bit cooler, and he does have an ultimate form that is like Blastoise cannons coming off its back, and has, of course, much stronger ice breath, I would assume. And that is a nice form, but we only got to see Ultimate Arctiguana once. I wish Ben got the Ultimate forms back after that episode, just so we could see like some other Ultimates show up, maybe. Because Omniverse did some really, really awesome designs for the Ultimates that they did show. Except maybe Ultimate Spider Monkey, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Arctic Iguana for me is like basically the C tier point. Probably lower C tier though. Blitzwolfer, very easy C tier as well, but I think he's like at the top of C tier. He's essentially just like a direct upgrade to Wild Mutt. He can do everything Wild Mutt can do, but he also gets the Sonic Howl. And he looks far cooler. Omniverse upped his design by making him much more raggedy and furry, and I think he looks way better that way. I mean, not that the classic design sucked, but I don't know. This design looked great. I mean, the classic design was probably a lot more mythologically inspired, or looked more like an actual wolf, and I think that's what they were going for. But Blitzwolfer's good. I mean, I didn't even mind the name Ben Wolf in the first place, but Omniverse decided they needed other names, and I don't disagree. And Blitzwolfer is cool. Ben got the idea from seeing Wolf Blitzer on the news, I guess, and they decided not to they decided not to pass up the joke. I mean, plus Blitzwolfer can actually talk, so that immediately knocks Wild Mutt down on the use peg, and that is kind of bad for Wild Mutt. But I would totally use Blitzwolfer over Wild Mutt pretty much any time. I think the only advantage Wild Mutt really has over Blitzwolfer is that his sense of smell and hearing is far better. But other than that, Blitzwolfer direct upgrade. There's really no other reason to use Wild Mutt if you have him. Snarrow. Let's see. Also going to be B tier. A lot of people do not like the three horror aliens. I do. I think they're awesome. And Snarrow is definitely one of them. He's definitely one of the best ones, in my honest opinion. And I'm just putting in mind here, he's like kind of has the same like stretchy elastic principle as like Wildvine and I guess Upgrade. But Snarrow can shapeshift even more than Wildvine can. The only thing you're losing out when it comes to Snarrow is like the sleeping gas and the grenades and like controlling plants. Other than that, he's like decently strong. Let's see, decently strong, pretty hard to kill. I mean, Diamond Head like stabbed another alien of his species, and that seemingly did absolutely nothing to him. So he's pretty much immune to physical damage. I assume if you blasted him with enough fire, that would be like really annoying for him. Yeah, Ben should have used Heat Blast on that guy. Never did. Yeah, I would have just straight up gone Heat Blast on the guy and just tried to burn him to a crisp, but oh well. Can't get everything you want. Anyway, Snarrow, flat out. Snarrow's really cool. I wish we got more of him than we did, to be honest. I just think he deserved more appearances. Although the classic voice is better than the classic voice is better than the Omniverse voice, but the Omniverse design is so much better than the classic one. Yeah, I mean, he actually looks like a damn pharaoh, and I love it. Frankenstrike. It's like, as a concept, I love him a lot. Probably, but realistically, and the more I kind of think about like overall, I think Frankenstrike also falls into B. Frankenstrike against a horde of zombie clowns. Why not? He's like Buzzshock, where he can control electricity, and he technically has some enhanced intelligence. I mean, clearly not on the level of gray matter or brainstorms, but like if you took some of Forearm's super strength and, threw in Buzzshock's electricity, made it a Frankenstein's monster, and boom. I would assume he could absorb electricity from those electrical towers on his back. I mean, he does generate it from there and then shoot it from his hands. And he can generate it to like supercharge his punches, like bam, bam, bam. He's like punching you with his electricity. And I loved Frankenstrike. I mean, like, I thought he was the best one of the three. Like, Snaro's cool, Blitzwolfer's not pretty nice, all things considered. Frankenstrike, like, he was a powerhouse, and I'm like, yeah, we're getting some other cool aliens, but we need like other powerhouse, hard hitting dudes, and Frankenstrike just fell into that. The only reason I rank Diamond Head and like these guys higher is because I think the durability and intangibility kind of trumps Frankenstrike's abilities a bit, so he's probably B tier. I'd probably put him in. Actually, you know what? No, we're gonna put Frankenstrike in like A. With how much I do like him, I think he's at least A. Maybe not quite Ghost Freak level, and yeah, maybe not quite up to the level of Ghost Freak, but he is dang good. I've People dunk way too much on the horror trio. I think they deserve more respect. Upchuck, yeah. I feel like Upchuck's just B tier, maybe, and I do like Upchuck a little bit more, but I also feel like as far as battle effectiveness, Upchuck could be better. He does have really strong tongues, but they're clearly not for like hitting. They're like for grabbing and ingesting things. And Upchuck has the strongest stomach in the show. He ate like a nearly unlimited, like condensed weight of a star and just threw it into his gut. He ate a radioactive bomb. Like, he couldn't contain it, but he ate a radioactive bomb, spewed it out upwards, and still lived after that. Now you think I'd be putting him in S, but Upchuck's power scope is kind of limited, unfortunately. Like, there's no way he's moving fast. There's no way he's hitting that hard, really. I mean, lasers were essentially like he's essentially immune to lasers. He can just eat a laser, spew it back with a little bit more power, and in that way, he's kind of like a Wobbuffet. He can like eat and absorb and shoot back, and I think that's what makes him really good and useful. But he's not like that good. He's not like a super fantastic guy. But I personally like him quite a bit. Like, they're cool, and I guess I'll try to define the tiers a bit more closely later on. Again, this will be another top heavy tier list for sure. Unlike my Smash, you're kind of like my Smash Ultimate one, but I feel like this makes at least some form of sense. Ditto, I'm sorry, I gotta put Ditto in E tier. He is good in combat, don't get me wrong, but his downside is that if any of his clones take damage, they will all take the same damage. And I'm realizing that they're using the classic Ditto colors for that, but oh well, that's not important. Regardless, though, yeah, he can multiply himself endlessly and make this huge army of himself. But what's the use of it if every clone feels the same damage that one of them takes? I mean, a bunch of them dogpiled on top of like one strong kind of older guy wasn't enough to like stop him. Like, just keep piling on to one. And it's not like this guy was an alien. He was a human who like worked out a lot, like Kingpin, kind of. I think I think his name was Mr. Beck from the wrestling episode in the classic series. I don't know how many of you remember that. But yeah, Ditto couldn't even stop that guy. Like, dude, if you like multiplied yourself more, I think you could just weigh yourself down on top of him and just, let the porcupine dude and the alligator guy just save their mom. Like, I mean, if you want to use Ditto, sure, just go that way. I would rather they have used Forearms for that, but Forearms has a lot of appearances anyway. We gotta give, some to some of these other guys. That's one thing Classic didn't exactly do well is that they didn't give a lot of the later aliens time to shine. I mean, Ripjaws especially felt the bad end of the stick on that one. Once I like tried to count how many times each alien was used, it was like, oh my god, Ripjaws, you really deserve better. And I'm talking this about a D tier dude. Yeah, Ditto could have used some more episodes. We didn't get to see him again until Omniverse after the classic series, but hey. Ditto is one of the ones that I'm not too sad that they didn't add more often. I mean, if they did, I'd probably like him a little bit more, but with how debilitating his weakness is, I really can't put him any higher than that. F tier is like for aliens that have like no real good freaking use in my eyes. Way big? Okay. Way big is an S tier alien for me. I was astounded when I first saw him in Secret of the Omnitrix. He was so cool. Like, yeah, his only downside is that you can't use him inside a building. But when you're outside or you're fighting some other titanically sized thing, just go way big. Then you could take him on an even footing. And they gave him the ability to like shoot the energy beams Ultraman style, which is fantastic. And they like in an Ultimate Alien, he even had super speed. I don't think he's anywhere near as fast as Accelerate. I mean, yeah, sure, he's covering a lot more area with how huge he is, but he was actually like decently quick, even for a Titan-sized freak like him. And his one weakness, actually, he technically has two if you want to count what happened to his ultimate form, Ultimate Way Big. Ultimate Way Big was a Ultimate Way Big himself was great. I loved him. But it was essentially just Way Big with a stat upgrade, kind of like Ultimate Wild Mutt was. Well, one of his weaknesses was that if you hit him in the fin, he would be weakened. Or if you had like enough, I guess, acid rain or some kind of dark radiation or whatever Dagon did fall on him, Way Big just like gets depowered over time and like passes out. I'm not exactly sure what Dagon did to him, but Ultimate Way Big was strong enough to like hurt a pure energy being. So he clearly had the strength to hurt Dagon and give him something to actually think about. But oh my god, Way Big is fantastic. He is super duper strong. I have nothing but positive things to say about Way Big. I think he's one of the best aliens they came up with. I mean, Ultraman reference aside, Way Big is really, really, really cool. There really should have been more of him, but we didn't really get too much of that. Actually, we might have gotten just enough Way Big for me, I guess. Anyway, to round off the classic aliens, Eye Guy. Yeah, I'm gonna drop him about there. I do like him more than Wild Mud, Spitter, and Arctiguana. He can actually shoot ice beams from his eyes too. He even shot like green kind of fire from his eyes. But what he really does is shoot lasers, and if he combines all of the eyes, it's this big, really this really big energy beam that's super duper tough. And I assume he has enhanced hearing due to the giant ears on his head. Yeah, he's like an agile alien that's like decently strong. I mean, his effectiveness is up there. I'm pretty sure Eye Guy is like good. He's like pretty cool in all honesty. You know, like I think Eye Guy is cool. He definitely has merits to be used. But some aliens just get kind of outclassed. I mean, I even like Stinkfly outclasses Spitter if we're talking in terms of being optimal. And like some other aliens definitely outclass Eye Guy, but I still think he has some pretty good use cases even now. Plus, his design's not even that bad, really. I mean, I don't know why he has eyes in the palms of his hand, though. That just sounds like it'd be painful if you're trying to grab something or punch people. Like, or does that guy? I don't think that guy ever punched anyone though, so that kind of makes sense. He can still do some kicks though. I don't think he has any eyes on his legs. I really don't know where else to go with that guy. He's like, is C tier cool? Yeah. All right, now we're gonna go into Alien Force, which is gonna be the slowest part of the. Let's see, Swamp Fire, definitely S tier. Some people hated how his like bloomed design is. I think it's all right. And I love that it like gave him these vines he can use to like whip things around. But he has wild vine. I don't care. I just think it looks rad. Yeah. Yes, he is a combination of Heat Blast and Wild Vine. I 100% agree with that. But I love that. And I think he completely 100% outclasses Wild Vine. I mean, not Heat Blast, but at least Wild Vine. My man Swampfire is so cool, and he cannot get hurt. It is like instant regeneration. I mean, even if you chop him in the mulch, he's going to come back. I can only assume he got stronger after Ben. Excuse me. I can only assume he got stronger after he grew up from what Ben did. I think he's insanely good. He's really strong. He has vine lashing powers. He can control plants. He has swamp gas. He can even summon thorns from the ground and alien force the game. I'm kind of taking ratings from. I'm kind of taking things from multiple sources, at least that I've seen, and it took a. I mean, he does have an ultimate form. It took a while for his ultimate form to grow on me, but I do like his ultimate form. I think it's insanely good. The blue fire, he's got kerosene pods, and I think he trades out the regeneration for even more durable wood, which is, still good. I would just prefer having the regeneration factor. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying to get chopped up in the mulch a lot, but hey. I don't think it's too big of a drawback, and Swamp Fire's a definite S tier. Echo Echo, with everything that he can do, I will put him in the top of A tier, and I feel like that is an uncompromised position. Echo Echo by himself, he he can't clone himself as much as Ditto. They said his upper limit is like 1,000 copies, and he has Sonic Screams. He has like a few different. He has the Wall of Sound, which like where you can just focus a bunch of screams forward, or Echo Chamber, where he like traps people in like this sonic barrier all around them, and they eventually pass out due to all the noise. I think. But what Echo Echo has, but what Echo Echo can do, and I each Echo Echo can turn themselves into another alien, which you wouldn't think means that he should be able to go up here. But the downside that it seems to have is that every Echo Echo gets a different slice of Ben's personality, which kind of prevents them from working together, and it's why I think Ben hasn't done that since. But if you can figure out how to work around that fact, I'd even put him above Alien X, or on the same level as Alien X, because you could make one of the clones turn into Alien X, and then just make a bunch of the clones whatever else you want, or just make more Alien X's. Or you can just, turn an Alien X and multiply yourself to have even more Alien X's. So, oh boy. So I guess, yeah, that's why I'm putting him at the top of 8. There is one drawback to that strategy. And quite frankly, he's not one of my absolute most favorite aliens of all time, but I cannot ignore the combat effectiveness at all, so we're just going to drop him here. And his ultimate form, even though it cannot multiply, has multiplying sonic discs. And Ultimate Echo Echo has just been this was a dominant force in Ultimate Alien. He took down Ultimate Kevin when, like, nothing else could. He could contain a radioactive explosion with sound alone. He can fly at supersonic speeds. There's really nothing wrong with Ultimate Echo Echo. Ultimate Echo Echo is probably the best Ultimate form in general, and got used a fair bit throughout the course of the show. If anything, though, I think he deserved at least a few more appearances to see if there was like an absolute upper echelon to that power. I really wish they did not get rid of the ultimate transformations. I really wanted to see, like, Heat Blast, Forearms, Ultimate Ghost Freak, maybe. Hell, even Ultimate Ripjaws, just to see if that like made him able to walk on land or something like a lungfish. There was so much that the Ultimate forms did that I just absolutely love. Speaking of Ultimates, though, Humongosaur was my absolute favorite alien probably ever. He's so good. Okay? And for me, now, Humongosaur is one of those aliens that does not have a ton of powers. I mean, he has like a sonic-ish roar that's like kind of like Blitzwolver's, but not really. He's huge. I absolutely love reptilian dinosaur aesthetics, which you can probably tell with Accelerate already, but and I think I mentioned this in my Smash Ultimate tier list as well, but I absolutely love reptilian characters. Humongosaur is this big guy that can get even larger. Like he can go from like 12 feet tall to like 6 stories high. He can like grow spikes out of his body. I loved how the CGI look in Alien Swarm was. He was an absolute badass in that film. I wish we had more time with him. No, he got more than enough appearances in the show. I got enough Humongosaur to last me a lifetime, and he did come back for the reboot, which I'm like, I'm not sure we should be giving 10-year-old Ben this fucking guy, but and they added a power to him. They like made his tail able to generate earthquakes if he hit the ground with it, or like his tail was the strongest part of his body, which to me just immediately outclasses forearms, like right there. Like Humongosaur is forearms, but better, and forearms feels like Humongosaur at home that's not reptilian. I absolutely love him. I wish. Yeah, but in Omniverse and like the later parts of Ultimate Alien, they forgot that Humongosaur could increase his size, which is one thing his ultimate form doesn't do. It they kind of add like a Bowser influence on the Humongosaur, kind of more or less. They had Ankylosaurus elements to it, or Ankylosaurus elements to him, however that's pronounced. But they make it so that his hands turn into missile launchers. And they said that those missiles are his bones that he's firing at people, and he can like regrow his bones and regenerate them and just shoot this barrage of missiles everywhere. And Ultimate Humongosaur, at first I was like, oh my god, really? That's his design? And then it turned into, you know what? It's just another Humongosaur that's bigger. And I thought he could still grow, but to even bigger heights. Even the Cartoon Network website said, "Oh, he can grow up to 120 feet tall." No, he can't. All he, yeah, in exchange for the growth ability, he just shoots missiles, which that by itself is fine. There is nothing bad about Humongosaur. I do agree that we got enough Humongosaur in the show, for sure, but yeah, he was probably overused. I do agree. It's just I don't care. I think he's absolutely amazing. And I do like the Omniverse belt here as far as like design changes. I think it's okay. Didn't need the shorts because he clearly didn't need shorts in Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, but hey. And I'm just gonna hit that just because I actually love the way this list looks. Humongosaur is a damn badass. He deserves the appearances that he got, if you ask me. He got more than enough appearances. I just love him. That's really all it comes down to. Jet Ray, I feel like objectively is at least here. I mean, I personally do not like him as A tier. I feel like he's more like maybe C ish, but I think he's Ben's fastest alien straight up. I Jet Ray's faster than Accelerate, and the only reason he's not an S is because again, I personally do not like him that much. I mean, yes, he has really strong eye beams and tail beams. He can fly into hyperspace. Like that's incredible. Accelerate cannot do that. So Jet Ray is Ben's fastest alien, hands down. But what really drags him down for me is just his lack of extra abilities. I mean, and apparently he can fly faster underwater than he can in the air. So he's like air and sea, but he's not really much of a land fighter. It's kind of crazy because in Alien Force, the game, at least the console versions, he's pretty okay at fighting on land for the most part. And he is your fastest alien. I think he and Spider Monkey move at about the same speed, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, Jet Ray is nice though. I really have no issues with him. Jet Ray's great. Jet Ray is objectively a great alien, but and a lot of people think Jet Ray was overused too. It's just, dude, Jet Ray is a super good alien. I think he deserves that spot just based on his overall effectiveness. Like, okay, his combat abilities leave a little bit to be desired, but as far as speed and travel, he's like the best alien for that. So there you go. Big Chill. Okay. This before I say anything, his Omniverse design is absolutely sucktacular. His Alien Force Ultimate Alien design is like peak Ben 10 alien design. It's so fantastic. Blue isn't even my favorite color, but it just works. And because I'm including ultimate forms now, Big Chill is an S tier alien. Just like for both him and his ultimate form, I'm a sucker for fire designs. Even though Big Chills does look a little funny. Yes, sure. It's just him with like fire on his wings and like against his head. But that also looks good. And I think I said that I'm an easy to please person. And Big Chill and Ultimate Big Chill really, really satisfy that. But Big Chill for me is better than Ghost Freak. He actually has physical strength and durability without his intangibility. Big Chill turned invisible all of one time. Although I do count that in his abilities just because. His ice is not as cold as Arctic Iguana's, but is still incredibly functional, and he can control it better than Arctic Iguana can. Which is why I think Big Chill's far better in the ice department as well. He's decently strong. I mean, yeah, I can see this design of Big Chill punching people, and I thought he had a beard. No, that's just how his chest plate is designed now. I don't think he has an exoskeleton like Stinkfly does, though. Like durable exoskeleton on top of intangibility. You, that's busted. I think Big Chill is easily one of Ben's most busted aliens, just straight up. And the ultimate Big Chill design, I mean, of course he like flies even faster than normal Big Chill does. And the ice changes into heat. It, how I think they described it is heat draining fire, essentially. That's why whenever Ultimate Big Chill's fire touched something, it froze. It was just like a much more effective way of freezing. It doesn't just like cover things in ice. It just absorbs the heat out of whatever it touches and freezes it into ice, which makes it so much more effective. So he's way better at his job than he used to be. Again, just a stat enhancement with like a slight paint job change, but at least that one feels justified to me. I love Ultimate Big Chill quite a bit. Chroma Stone is also a really good alien in my eyes, and I feel like he is better than Diamond Head objectively. But the only thing Chroma Stone loses on is the ability to control rock. Is like the only thing he's really losing out on. But he can fly, which I feel like is a much more useful overall power to have. I mean, Chroma Stone's essentially immune to lasers and electricity as long as he knows it's coming. If he's on guard and he sees it coming, he can just absorb the electricity, channel it back. He can absorb the laser, channel it back. I think he's fucking fantastic. I love him. And I think this Omniverse design is an upgrade. I don't know if that's a hot take, but a lot of people don't like that. I do. He has the Optimus Prime base plate that is awesome. I love it. Chroma Stone is I think Chroma Stone and Diamond Head are about the same level of strength and durability though. Yeah, they should be about as strong as each other. Maybe Diamond Head's slightly stronger because of his like bulkier looking physique. But Chroma Stone does gain the mobility advantage. He is far more agile than Diamond Head is. And he can just and he can shoot lasers without having to absorb them. I just don't think they're as strong. And he has like and he's the only energy alien to have a chaos blast like attack as well. So yeah, Chroma Stone being able to do that, he's so good. I love Chroma Stone. And I'm not quite sure whether I like Chroma Stone or Diamond Head more, but I feel like Chroma Stone is overall more effective, even if Diamond Head's like not that far behind. So Chroma Stone's getting the slight edge on for me when it comes to that. Brainstorm. I feel like I got to drop Brainstorm about here. I feel like Brainstorm is gray matter done right. Gray matter may be smarter, but Brainstorm is like an AI style enhanced processing speed as opposed to gray matter. And you know, he shoots lightning, he has electric force fields. It's also really good. He Brainstorm can levitate. And he can kind of fight with his crab pincers at close range if he needs to, but I think he'd rather be at a distance. I mean, I'd rather be at a distance if I was Brainstorm. Yeah, sure, I have a durable skin carapace, especially in the brain center, because he can open up his head and his brain is right there. His brain even goes into the area where his mouth is. At least from what I've seen, even though Brainstorm actually barfed once, funnily enough. It was such a weird scene. It wasn't a bad scene. It was just like, wait, really? Brainstorm can barf? What? What? I know for a second I saw his brain where his mouth was. Like, dude. And when Brainstorm talks, his mouth doesn't even move. So I thought that was just a cosmetic thing. Oh, and his belt here, Brainstorm can't breathe oxygen. So they actually like slap that on so he can breathe oxygen. Problem with that, why did they not do that for Ripjaws? Like, you know, give him a big old neck brace that can help him breathe in the air if he has to do something. Like, dude, okay, you do that for Brainstorm, but not Ripjaws? Come on, man. It, like, helped every other alien in some kind of way if that was necessary, but no. Yeah, leave Ripjaws out on that, am I right? Anyway, Brainstorm's good. I still personally like Wildvine as, like, actually, no, we're gonna put Brainstorm a little bit above Wildvine. Because Brainstorm's cool, and I don't know, maybe crowds just don't 100% do it for me, and that's why he feels like more average than cool, but I do think he's nice. Nice. There's nothing wrong with Brainstorm at all, though. Spider Monkey, let's see. I guess we're putting Spider Monkey here. I mean, he's probably Ben's most agile alien, all things considered. The extra limbs do help, kind of like they do with forearms. And his webs are good. The only thing he's really missing out on is flying, which is why, Sting flies better, in my personal opinion. He's fast, he can hit even harder. He's actually strong enough to use a lamp post to smack people larger than him away. That I couldn't believe that. Like, oh wait, what? Spider Monkey's that strong? He doesn't look that strong. But his ultimate form is far, far cooler than this version. Even the Omniverse version, where he has like 6 arms instead of 2 arms and gigantic spider legs. And the ultimate alien version of Ultimate Spider Monkey is cooler. And the Omniverse version isn't like bad per se either. Spider Monkey is just Spider Man, but without the spider sense, and he's a monkey. At least I don't think Spider Monkey had like kind of like a precognition warning like Spider Man does. And it's not like it's like future sight. It's like, oh, danger is imminent kind of ability. And yeah, Spider Monkey doesn't really have that. I do think he's cool though. There's like no reason for him to not be like good. Alien Force introduced a lot of really cool aliens. Speaking of really cool aliens, Goop. Uh, I gotta drop Goop in B tier though. And the only reason Goop is going in B tier is because, again, he's not like super duper strong. As far as I can tell, I mean, he is strong enough to like to restrain some people in his goop. He's basically indestructible as long as you don't touch the UFO on his head. Otherwise, he won't be able to move at all. Although where his consciousness is kind of debatable. Sometimes it seems like it's a UFO, like where his brain is, and other times it seems like his brain is the goop, and the device here kind of allows him to move. Goop is another example of like allowing the alien to function in environments besides its home world, like with the brainstorm in his brace. At least, at least that's why I think the UFO is there. I don't think the species naturally comes with a UFO floating over its head. I mean, each UFO is probably assigned to like a specific polymorph alien. That's what Goop species is called. I've always loved Goop. And I do not think Goop is a bad alien at all. Some people seem to, and it's like, why? Goop is cool. Yeah, he's not that strong. He shoots goop balls like bullets, and he can like spray acid everywhere, kind of like Spitter, but he doesn't have a solid form to hit. It is very hard to get a solid hit on Goop. You know what I mean? Goop is a pretty strong alien. I think he's overall insanely tough to beat down. Yeah, I think you could use him in like general overall crime fighting pretty well. Now, he's not going to be good at like moving things per se, but stopping people from doing stuff, yeah, sure. And he's indestructible, so you're really not going to get hurt while you're doing the job. If anything, I think Goop is like a pretty effective alien. He's not like busted, but he's like good, you know? Alien X, there's really no other place to put him, but I think about it. Close that. Make this that color, and I'm gonna call this God tier for sure. Really hard to read that, but yeah, Alien X is on a tier far above any of the other aliens objectively. And he is one of my favorite aliens nowadays. He didn't used to be. Oh yeah. Alien X was quite the disappointment in his first debut, but because Ben couldn't control Alien X at all, he had to work with the other two personalities inside of Alien X to be able to do anything. That's the fun part. Alien X is essentially a god. He is like one of the strongest aliens in the universe. It is said Alien X can do anything. However, Ben does need to get the permission of the other two personalities inside of Alien X's head to do anything, which is his biggest downside. Otherwise, Alien X would be down here, like virtually unusable. But now that Ben can control Alien X and it's shown that he can use Alien X at will, he's a damn good alien. He just he just uses everyone else because, there's really not always a reason to turn into Alien X. That's just like overkill on so many levels. Ben would only turn into Alien X if he absolutely needed Alien X to do the job that he was intending to do, which, you know, don't waste Alien X's time when all these dudes are here. Come on. The Alien X is good though. There's like no reason for him to not be good. He's strong, he's usable, he's pretty like Alien X can do anything, so he gets like god tier above literally everyone else. I mean, yeah, up until that point in Omniverse, Alien X was like useless as hell, but now that Ben can actually control Alien X without worrying about Bellicus and Serena getting in the way, he's awesome. Lodestar, straight up. I feel like Lodestar is again C tier. He's a very specialized alien. At first, I thought all he could do was use magnetism, which, if magnetism won't work on a guy you're fighting, he's essentially like nigh useless. But he can float, he can regenerate, and I feel like I'm missing something, and it's not like Lodestar's weak. He's really not. I mean, you can kind of use him in a fight. But if you're if you're something that's not magnetic, Lodestar's kind of useless. But I don't feel like he's D tier because he at least has regeneration. So if he does get broken apart and busted up, he can put himself back together. Oh, and if his head is separated from his body doesn't really know what to do. But he is good. Maybe not that much in C tier good though. I feel bad putting him lower than this because I like Lodestar. He's like pretty dang good, but you know, when you're specialized, you really can't be much better than the average tier. Or in my case, it's kind of like, yeah, they're fine. I just don't like them more than like average. It's kind of hard to balance it out as like objectively versus preference is how I'm kind of balancing this list out. Combat effectiveness versus coolness versus blah 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 blah. Anyway, Nanomech. Now he's really not that useful in a fight at all, but I feel like he's like teeny tiny alien done extremely well. And I'm gonna put him here. Nanomech's cool. Now I've loved him since the movie, and I always thought he could like maybe increase his size to be a little bit larger, but nah, he's like the size of a bug, and he can shrink to microscopic sizes. And after that, he can like control electricity, but he really doesn't do much. You know? Excuse me. At his height, he has a pretty deep sounding voice, but to most people, he sounds so cute, and I can't ignore that. He's useful. He's great. I mean, I mean, he can get into things that are like smaller than gray matter. Smaller than gray matter can like get into. Plus, he actually has like a method to bite back, even though he doesn't have enhanced intelligence. He's like this little annoying little bumblebee type dude. He's like beep 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 beep, and like sting people's like little shocks, and I think that's like really cute and fun and nice. He's so good. I love him. I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about Nanomech, to be honest. Wrath, the final alien we got in Alien Force. I kind of want to put him in God tier, but he's not that powerful. So realistically, I think I can only put him about there. Wrath is awesome. I love him so much. Let me tell you something. And he always yells that. He always comes up with these super crazy, really nonsensical rants that he will just yell at someone. Wrath is so cool. He's great, man. I love Wrath. There is nothing that Wrath can't make funny. He's so great. I love him. He's like a wrestler. He's like he has names for his wrestling moves too. Wrath is an S tier just because of how entertaining he is more than his combat effectiveness. Like his ability to entertain is purely outshining his combat effectiveness here. I will straight up admit to that. I love Wrath so much. I really don't know what else to say. I mean, I actually kind of yeah, when he got his luchador costume, he was like, "Muy macho, soy Wrath, soy Wrath, Wrath is muy macho." That's another thing that I like too, kind of sometimes. And I loved Mucha Lucha. I loved El Tigre. Like, oh my god, all of that combined with just his fierceness, he's so good. Wrath is super cool, okay? Although his ultimate form, I was expecting more than they showed when Albedo finally showed that off. Like, I really wanted to see an ultimate Wrath, and we never got it. Like, I can only imagine how much more fun Ultimate Wrath would be, as opposed to. Oh my god. Like, Wrath is so good. Wrath is so cool. He really deserved. And they did bring him back in the reboot too, so at least the creators know how cool he is, but he's he's not as fun in the reboot as or at least he doesn't seem as fun as in the reboot, even though he like still you know, he he still has a line, he still made me chuckle, but I cannot talk about Wrath without laughing. He's so much fun. He even got mad at gravity itself and like started yelling at gravity and when he looked at his hole in the ground when he landed from like super high up. I mean, the guy can take an atmospheric fall, so you oh my god. Okay. You cannot tell me that Wrath is not good. And if Wrath is not at least an A tier alien for you, I mean, okay, I can understand if maybe he's not an S for you, but if he's not an A tier, something is genuinely wrong with you, okay? If you cannot like at least put Wrath somewhere in A, maybe top of B if I'm feeling generous, something is genuinely wrong with you, okay? And that is a take that comes from my own mind. I feel like you have to at least like Wrath. How can you not? He is that good. Oh. All right. Calm myself down for a second. We're gonna go into Ultimate Alien with Water Hazard. Oh no, I wasn't gonna drop him there. I was like thinking about it. Yeah, I'd probably put Water Hazard like about there. Like again, durable exoskeleton. He also can hit pretty hard, and he can just shoot water everywhere. He's like really darn good at doing that. And red is my favorite color. I think he looked fine in Ultimate Alien. Omniverse just added a bunch of extra little details, like those little. I almost want to say geyser points. He has like extra eyes on his chest for some reason. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know what else to say besides I do think Water Hazard is a really, really cool alien. Although I loved him at first because of his voice, to be quite frank. Yes, Water Hazard! It is so much fun to say. And I think Water Hazard's a fun alien. I really don't have anything against him. I just wish he could do. I mean, he can absorb moisture from the air too. It's probably just to refuel his water storage, maybe. But it does make sense. Like he can cool things off like Big Chill, and he can absorb the moisture, kind of like how Ultimate Big Chill absorbs heat, I guess, with his blasts. Look, you don't have to go Ultimate with him. I genuinely think Water Hazard's a really nice design. Like, hmm. But I don't think I can put him anywhere higher than C because he's not really the strongest or the most durable, but he does have a bunch of good things going for him. Amphibian is also a cool alien, and he was my favorite alien for a bit until I kind of just got over it, I guess. But I'm gonna put him above Buzzshot because he can do a bunch of the same things Buzzshot can. But what he also has is he has intangibility, even though we don't always get to see it, unfortunately. And he has the power to read minds. Like, hello? Amphibian's great, okay? I feel like he's at least B tier. I almost want to move him up here, but I don't. But I also feel like Snarrow and Goop have kind of more overall uses than Amphibian at the same time, so we're putting in there. And Amphibian is like a very, very good and cool alien. He can go underwater, although he's also not immune to being shocked by his own electricity and water for some reason. I don't know if the composition of like chlorine was what made Amphibian get hurt by his own shocks in the show at one point. It's like a really odd explanation to me, but I can also kind of believe it at the same time. It's really weird. Like he has telepathy and intangibility, and you're just going to ignore that? I mean, they don't like completely ignore it, but I don't see Ben like trying to read people's minds. I mean, okay, it could be just amphibian reading people's emotions instead of uh his. It could just be reading emotions instead of reading minds, I suppose. But I still think amphibian is at least objectively a B tier alien. I try not to let my emotions drain too much, but I can't help it at the same time with several of them. So I feel like amphibian's at least B. It only it's like overall, they did such a good job with these aliens in my mind. Armadillo? Okay. Probably here? Yeah, yeah, Armadillo has like seismic generation abilities, and he's also an insanely hard, I'm gonna punch you super hard kind of alien, you know? He's got the big, big seismic arms. It wasn't until Omniverse where they showed his hands turning into drills. I thought he was always able to do that, but he never did that in Ultimate Alien, and I was like, okay, that's acceptable. And then they added drills, and I'm like, wait, but. Huh? Why didn't he always do that? But I love how. Okay, one thing that I think Armadillo should be able to do that he never did was like maybe after he punches someone, he like vibrates them with his jackhammer piston hand and like just vibrate them and like really mess up their senses. Armadillo is like never shown doing that. And of course, he's like an incredible, super fast digger. There's a, and if he slams the ground hard enough, it's like more effective than if like Forearms or Humongousaur does it. I think just bam, just shakes the ground up even more than like any other alien could. He is an earth-moving alien to a fault. He is so good. And if he was any stronger, I think he would be absolutely busted as an alien. Like, imagine him like grabbing two sides of someone's head and just shaking them, vibrating them up. Oh my god! You thought Ghost Freak's telepathy and like possession could mess someone's head up? Oh no, I'm a driller. That is so much cooler. And you know what? Just for Earth moving alone, I'm putting him above Diamond Head. Armadillo is like one of the coolest aliens to me. Just straight up. He goes here easily A tier. He's not quite S, but very solidly A tier. Spin. He's also going to be B tier for me. Actually, yeah, maybe not quite. Yeah, we'll put him there. I think he's about here. Terraspin can, he can like fly. He can shoot a lot of wind and like control tornadoes, which is pretty cool. And I assume if he's spinning fast enough, his blade hands could chop some people up pretty good. And he's immune to poison gas. He can't be hurt by magic. Apparently, that's like something else that's pretty good. And I love how in Omniverse they gave him a little bit more details. Like they gave him some more scales. He just looks more like an organic turtle than he did in Ultimate Alien. Even though I think he's great in Ultimate Alien. Even then, like he turns his two legs into one fan blade, and then he just shoots tornadoes. And Terrorspin's really cool as far as that. He can, I believe, he can also launch his shell into people, just like ooh, And of course, he doesn't have as much control over it as Cannonbolt. He can shoot really strong winds, but he can't really manipulate the wind to do what he wants it to. He's not an airbender. I feel like if he was an airbender, he would easily be higher A, maybe even S, but no, I really can't put him any higher than where he is in B. I think that's logical, yeah. NRG, okay, the last of the five Andromeda aliens to show up, and I feel like NRG is almost god tier, maybe, but he's he almost outclasses Heat Blast when he's outside of that containment suit. Otherwise, he's like the most durable alien in the show. The only reason he can't leave the suit all the time is because of the radiation he leaks off when he is in it. And at first I thought it looked like he was a walking trash can, so I liked his Ultimate Alien design more at first, and then I realized because of the handle, he can willingly open that thing, and there's like a little radioactive flying dude inside of there that can eat radiation and like grow bigger and stronger. And he has like a crazy belt lash jumpsuit, I guess you could call that, when he's under there, but NRG is a good alien. I honestly really, really love him. He's the most durable alien out of all of Ben's aliens when he's in the suit, and when he's outside of the suit, he's like this radiation energy absorbing, almost vampiric kind of guy. I'm not sure how much Ben is affected by the radiation hunger that Pandor seemed to have, but it didn't really seem to bother him when I did see him pop out of the suit, so I don't know, for all I know, Ben really isn't that bothered, and that's just kinda how it ended up being, I suppose. Yeah, NRG's an insanely good alien. I think he even outclasses Heat Blast and Swamp Fire in the Heat and Fire generation department. And plus, you can't really be harmed by physical attacks when he's outside of the suit either, so no matter what, you can't hurt NRG really at all. And the only thing that can cut this suit open is Tatanite, but most of the time I don't think you'd want to. So, yeah, there's NRG is one of Ben's most broken aliens by far. Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, except I think you want him to be in the suit more often than not if you're trying to fight him. Alright though, Fast Track. I do agree Fast Track is not that great. Oh, he's gonna sit at the bottom of C tier for me because I do think he's genuinely better than D, E, and F. But I also can't really recommend him anymore. Like we already have a blue fast guy in Accelerate. We didn't need like a feline guy that was like that. I mean, I guess he kind of looks like the Flash, but blue. And most of the time, Fast Track wasn't even like really that great at what he did. I think a missile outran him when he tried to fight Sir George. He just like clothesline. He got clotheslined by a knight, man. I mean, Fast Track is not that great. I mean, Omniverse, we probably could have gotten a much better design too. I wanted to see what they would do with Fast Track and Omniverse, but they just said screw Fast Track. We'll just use Accelerate when we want the fast guy. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. That's how you want to handle it. Yeah, Fast Track is very, very middling for me, but I don't feel like he's like E, F, or D. Because I do genuinely like him, and he's like stronger than Accelerate, so he has at least one use more than Accelerate does, but Accelerate is far more effective than Fast Track. I don't care what anyone says. Chameleon for me, I do like him, but I also feel like Ghost Freak is like far more effective at being invisible and moving around. So, um, no, it's just me, but I'm putting Chameleon here. I genuinely like him, and he's fine. And I love his like tail stinger. That's like this really cool hidden weapon factor that like none of the other aliens seem to have. But he's not strong. He's not fast. He's probably not even like super durable. He's used for stealth more often than anything. You never really see Chameleon fight in the show either. There's no reason for him. It's funny because I hate that I'm saying this, which is like, kind of like with Fast Track. There's like next to no reason for him to really, be a factor uh, in the Omnitrix. Like his stealth needs that he does have, I think Ghost Freak and probably even Big Chill do far better just by themselves. So I feel like he's massively outclassed, but at the same time, I still think he's pretty neat. Like far better than Fast Track at least. So no, I think Chameleon's like D tier, and Ripjaws is definitely the cooler form, but at least Chameleon can be used on land. Like he's not that tough. Like Chameleon's not very tough. Ripjaw is like better in combat than Chameleon is for sure. But the more I think about it, the more he's like D tier, and I genuinely like him like quite a bit. I feel very disappointed in saying that he's D. I'm sorry, man. Shock Squatch is insanely good. I mean, I don't. He's not S tier for me, but I do love him. He is super cool. He's he's like a much better Frankenstrike in terms of actually projecting electricity. He's like Shock Squatch kind of makes Frankenstrike obsolete. He's like the much better Frankenstrike. He's like He has lightning breath, man. Lightning breath. He's like hits really hard. He's probably pretty tanky too. I mean, look at that. Look at that physique. He didn't look that great in the Generator Rex crossover special, but in Omniverse, they just upgraded his design so much. Some people even say he looks like a Pokemon, and I'm like, yeah, he kind of looks like an Electivire, to be honest, just a little bit cooler version. Like, I could see Electabuzz evolving into Shock Squatch. Straight up, like, Shock Squatch could be an electric fighting type Pokemon. Eat that, Palmot. Palmot's actually a fine Pokemon, but that's not what this is about. Anyway, when I saw this redesign, I was so hyped to see Shock Squatch show up and like actually kick some ass. I mean, Ultimate Alien he looked fine, but I didn't think he was like great or good. But this design is so cool. I love Omniverse Shock Squatch so much. And a Shock Squatch is another one that is like a Chaos Blast style of electricity projection. He's like the ultimate electric alien in terms of just outright wattage, I think. He's just, oh, he's, strong. About the only downside is that he's not mega fast. I mean, I think I saw him run on all fours like one time, and I love his Canadian accent so much. Shock and I! He was such a joy. I mean, not as much as Wrath, but I don't know. He just hits all the right notes. Edel is also really good. I would even say as far as top of B for the moment. The only reason he's not A is because I don't think he's always useful. Like, yeah. I think overall Edel is a little bit more effective than Upchuck in most situations. Like, he's more generally useful. Like, he has a strong exoskeleton. He can eat things, power up lasers. He can shoot out of his horn. His Omniverse design has way more personality than his Ultimate Alien one. I mean, his Ultimate Alien one is also one of those ones I thought was okay, but it didn't really pop out. And he still had the same power. He had like a Nutcracker style mouth instead of like the nom 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 steam shovel style mouth he has now. But Ito's still good. Personally, I think he's fine. I mean, I would take either appearance if I had the Omnitrix and I turned into Ito. If I got the Ultimate Alien one, I wouldn't be like too mad about it. But Omniverse Ito is a far better design. I mean, heck, even the 3DS version of the Omniverse 2, he's like not even that bad. He's like one of the better aliens from what I've seen. And you get him from the start of the game. Ito's good. I I think he's a very effective alien, and I think a lot more people should like him. Okay. All right, Clockwork. If any other alien should probably be in God tier, it's Clockwork. Like realistically, from the things we've seen Clockwork do, he's like just under Alien X in terms of holy balls, he's strong. Like he is nearly absolute control over time. It seems like. Now he has been taken down pretty easily in Ultimate Alien. Like he got defeated by a guy with a crowbar once, so his durability. I mean, you would think he can at least take a few hits, but honestly, he kind of can't. I mean, okay, he got tossed by like a female forearms and lived though, so I, I don't know. His durability is kind of in question, and he can manipulate time to even move fast. So even in super speed, he's like pretty fast, even though he's like naturally pretty slow. He can shoot beams that age things. It seems like he has complete control over time. I can't believe there's a whole species that can just do that. So Alien X is like the god of everything, but Clockwork is the god of specifically time. I think Clockwork is like Ben's, at least from what we've seen, his second most powerful alien objectively. And I personally like him. I love his design. I mean, I wouldn't try to control all of time in an absolute manner, but at the same time, it's like, it's Clockwork, man. He's like pretty cool. But I feel like he objectively has to be in like god tier. You know what I mean? He's like objectively god tier, essentially. Jury rig, I feel like he kind of has to go in D. I mean, he's really only good if he has like scraps and like mechanical parts to work with. Like, I nearly said a poor man's upgrade, to be honest with you. But he's not really the poor man's upgrade. I think he's a general upgrade to gray matter, but he's not like smarter than gray matter. He's like this kind of side grade to gray matter that I feel is generally more useful. He can build things super quick and like disassemble things really quick. Ben had a hard time controlling him when he first got him. I think he has a much better handle on him now than he used to, but Jury Rig is overall not that great a transformation. I mean, Omniverse gave him the upgrade in design that he needed at least, and before he just looked like this little gremlin. Like, dude, what is up with that design? Ugh. I mean, it wasn't like pathetic, but I can't think of Jury Rig without thinking of this design instead. Like I did with Shock Squatch, I just subconsciously think of this design more than his other one. I barely even remember his Ultimate Alien design until it pops back up again. And from the times he has used Jury Rig is usually good and useful, so I'm gonna go ahead and say Jury Rig does get my approval as far as like effectiveness. But if there but from what I've seen, like the Ben 10, Ben 23 crossover, Jury Rig is like if there's not a lot of scrap metal for him to work with, he's like if there's like no mechanical devices for him to work with whatsoever, he's useless. At least Upgrade can like kind of shapeshift and like mold his body into different kinds of weapons, and he has an eye beam that's pretty good. But no, Jerry Rig, like a downgrade of Upgrade that feels like a kind of side grade to Gray Matter is. But I feel like Chameleon and Ripjaws would still be a bit more useful than him. So I guess he's going there, even though I feel like he's cooler than D objectively. But combat effectiveness just drops him in D flat out. Okay, but feedback though, my man. You know what? Yeah, I mean he's not quite god tier, but I feel like I gotta drop him at least there. My man absorbed the Big Bang. That's how powerful feedback is. He can absorb so much energy. It's probably near his upper limits though. Like the amount of energy that created the universe is probably maybe near his upper limits, if not feed, feedback having more beyond that. I mean, I can't even imagine an ultimate form for feedback that would make sense. And I'm a fan of Kingdom Hearts. The guy looks like a Neo Shadow with like power cords all over him. He's as far as design, feedback is an absolute god. He's so good. Feedback could probably eat NRG for breakfast if the suit isn't a factor. That's how cool feedback is, man. Oh, but he needed like pretty much every other alien to help him absorb that. I think that was more to watch being on the fritz than feedback actually having trouble containing the bomb. I mean, Alien X could have done that by himself easily. Maybe not Clockwork, but Alien X and feedback are, as far as like absorbing and using energy, they're on pretty much the same kind of tier. Even though Alien X can do way more and probably has a much higher limit of manipulation. and it lets him take on just about any other character in fiction. Now, I said just about, not like every single fictional character ever. Like the Cthulhu mythos people or beings or whatever are probably way stronger than Alien X in like many other ways, and I can accept that. There's probably other mythoses that have characters stronger than Alien X too. Like there's got to be at least a few people in Marvel and DC extended lore or whatever that I'm not familiar with, but that's an Alien X discussion. Feedback objectively is one of Ben's best aliens, no doubt. The only reason I'm putting Wrath way big and Humongousaur higher is because I just love them that much more despite that. So like Forearms is like just under that apparently. Alright though, Blocks. And it's not that Blocks is like terrible, it's just I just don't like him that much. I mean, I love his Lego gun powers. It's he's kind of like Goop in the sense that you can't really beat him up physically. I mean, you can incapacitate him physically, but he he's stronger than Goop. He can do more things than Goop. Although he is sometimes pretty easily breakable. Maybe it's depending on how much area he's covering, and that makes him a little bit less durable the more area he's covering. And I would not debate that if that was the effectiveness at all, but I don't know, man. He's I mean, he grew on me slightly over time, but so I do at least like him a tiny bit, but like I'm not as hard on him as I used to be, but he's still not like cool to me at all. Jerry Rig's still kind of cool to me. Blocks, he really isn't. Gravitack though, he's an alien I actually like a lot, and I would in fact, uh, yeah, I'd probably put him like above Forearms. Actually, with how badly Gravitack's powers can work, I mean, the man created a black hole on accident, even if there was some outside interference, you know? And unlike Clockwork, he could actually. I'm not quite sure what's. I know I do like Gravitack more than Clockwork, so I guess we'll do that. I feel like Gravitack is one of those objectively strong kinds of aliens. Gravitack could easily. And his only power is like manipulating gravity. He can like grab things, spin them around, throw them back. Yeah, he can do all of that. Plus, he's pretty large and buff. I think he could be very useful in a physical fight with how he is. I mean, if he folds himself into a ball like Cannonball, he has even more control over gravity than he normally would. It, the guy created a black hole on accident, okay? And the black hole just kind of ate everything. Jesus Christ. Oops. The Gravitack is just like. I mean, I'm sure if Alien X created a black hole, he could control how it worked, but Gravitack, he creates a black hole. It's like, uh oh. But I still think he's objectively one of Ben's best aliens, which is what I guess God tier will be. I'm gonna highlight that and say God tier. And to think he unlocked Gravitack just when he was trying to beat a guy in a robot suit, he could have done way more to Fist Trick than he did. He's essentially a telekinetic, but unlike Lodestar, he can control anything, so Gravitack immediately overrides Lodestar, and he probably overrides a lot of the physically strong aliens too, because he could just use gravity to like manipulate how strong he can be as opposed to like how he's fighting someone else. Man, Graviton could just like instantly physically overpower almost anyone, maybe. Unless I'm overestimating that, but I feel like putting Graviton in God tier makes sense. Crash Hopper. Okay. Well, I think I can safely put Crash Hopper about maybe here? Because Cannonbolt is far better than Crash Hopper in just about every single way. Oh, and Gravitak has an ultimate form. I forgot to mention, but I just think it's like stronger Gravitak or whatever. Crash Hopper is tough. He's like a strong exoskeleton. His head is his strongest part. He just kind of, hops around and headbutts things, which. Alright, now. I'm gonna put Crash Hopper, like, about here. Or I think he's, like, objectively good, but I still feel like he's, like, about average in terms of, like, being tough and strong. He has, like, a strong head, and he has strong feet, which you can probably use to kick someone super hard. His arms, though, are really dinky and puny, so. We didn't get a ton of Crash Hopper in the show, but I do think he's like a pretty good alien. He's fine. And he also makes grasshopper noises when he leaps. He just like has a really strong head. It's just I think Cannonbolt does that concept better, and they introduced him way earlier, so really nothing objectively wrong with him though. Ball Weeble, um, he's cute. Don't get me wrong. I love how cute he looks. He's like objectively this really, really cute alien. Although his main power is that he spits out a ball and he hops on it and then he like rolls it around to pick stuff up. There's like a slightly different version of Cannonbolt that I think is pretty interesting, but it takes a while for him to get like a lot of power accumulated. I don't feel like he's E tier though, or it's like it takes him a while to. Okay, it does take him a while to get going and yeah, he can eventually like roll a ball into someone, or he can make like little balls that he can shoot kind of fast, and he has like little mini bombs. I think Upchuck does that kind of thing better, like far better. It's like yeah, it's cute, but it's not like that good either. But I also like it. But I also like him more than Jerry Rig and Blocks, just personally. So yeah, we'll just leave him there. Okay, Walkatrout is honestly just an F tier alien. He has like no real use besides slippery skin. And I guess he can like swim through smaller spaces than like Ripjaws can, but he's really bad. Pesky Dust, though, he's got Pesky Dust indeed, but with how strong Pesky Dust's dream manipulation abilities are, I think that's at least like low C. Although Ghost Freak can kind of do the same thing and has many other abilities, so Pesky Dust is just Pesky Dust, I guess. A little more niche than Ghost Freak, but still has a pretty good purpose. And for the longest time, I thought Pesky Dust was a girl. I could be right for all I know. It's just I'm also kind of a sucker for the cute Omniverse aliens too. So like Ball Weevil and Pesky Dust are like these little cute aliens that I think are neat. Also is kind of Molestache, but I also feel like Molestache is pretty low on terms of actual effectiveness. I mean, the man's mustache is pretty dang strong, but since Ditto can take on stronger humans, probably better than Mustache can, we're just gonna drop him there. At least gray matter has an actual use, you know? Like that was just I cannot find a real use for this guy. Speaking of the worst, yeah, I agree. Also, probably realistically an F tier alien. Although I don't know whether or not he's technically more useful than Walkatrout or not. I mean, he took a beating from someone of Wrath species for like 6 hours. Like, but the problem is he still was like in pain from that. So the worst is An objectively terrible alien, no matter how you like try to slice it. You know, the worst is not. The worst actually is the worst alien Ben has, but I don't think he needs to be in his own tier. I think these two are about as bad as each other. So I don't know. Walkatrout has a shark fin on his head. That's how I'm justifying it. Kicking Hawk. I feel like he's at least B tier though. Yeah, I feel like Kicking Hawk is at least B tier. Useful in a fair amount of combat situations. I mean, it said that he has the most like martial arts knowledge out of all of Ben's aliens, so that's great. I don't think he's like super duper mega strong, like forearms and Humongousaur are, but yeah, Kicking Hawk's a pretty decently cool alien in my eyes. He's fine. I also wish he could fly, but I would have at least appreciated him like having a set of wings, but because he's not exactly a chicken, he's also saying he's a hawk, kicking hawk. So shouldn't he be able to fly too? You know, like like make his arms into like wings, and you could have what's that guy's name from Brawl Out? I don't even remember anymore. It was like kind of the same principle as Kicking Hawk. The only fighter I remember from like Brawl Out is fucking Paco though. He's like four-arm frogman. Great. I only remember him because Paco used to be like straight up broken. I don't know if he still is, but he at least used to be broken when the game was like first coming out. And I never actually played it because I just didn't want to deal with that Paco thing. Kicking Hawk though, he's great. Okay, maybe not great, but he's at least like nice in my opinion. And for me, he's like B tier level of cool. He's like I'm just a sucker for like strong dudes that hit hard. But I also acknowledge that he's probably not like super strong, so he's at least B for me. Ben doesn't have any other bird aliens, and there are some cool bird concepts we could go with, but they just decided not to go that route. Topic, the scariest thing in the universe. Which is really the only thing he knows how to be. I don't know if that's too much, but like I don't even know if that's too much, but Fast Track can at least like fight people. Topic, he just opens a space, people get scared and like pass out. That's really all Topic is. You could have some like Lovecraftian horror in that thing, but it's not like he's like god tier power level. I think he's just a guy with a really scary face. Again, I don't hate Topic, but at the same time, I feel like we could have done something more with him too. I'm not sure what. Because they just call him like an ogre? I don't know, man. I feel like Topic is good, but he's not like uber good either, so we'll just drop him there. Astrodactyl, again, reptilian, and I love my reptilian aliens. Although he's also objectively not powerful, really, so bottom of S. I actually love Astrodactyl. I mean, I know why some people don't like him, but I don't care. I love him. He's freaking rad. Jetpack. He can fly really far. He has energy whips. He can breathe lasers. Like, I love Astrodactyl. He's like probably one of my top 10 favorite non-ultimate aliens ever, to be honest. Like I love his design. I kind of wish he had like the energy mind power he has in Omniverse 2, where you can like drop little mines on the ground. That would be good. Or like, throw little bombs out too. That would be to go along with the mouth beams. Never seem to do that in the show, but apparently he's like also one of Ben's fastest flyers, like Jet Ray is. I feel like those two are like pretty interchangeable. Some people like it's like people like Jet Ray, but some people also hate Astrodactyl. I don't think he deserves that hate. Astrodactyl's fine. He's good. To me. Bullfrag, okay. This is another alien that I'm putting in B just for coolness factor alone, but again, I also acknowledge that he's not like that effective in combat either, you know? Like, oh my god. I'm sorry, this ear thing. Like my ear's like really itchy right now for some reason. Yeah, he's just like this cool looking frog guy, and I love his shades. I'm a Gurren Lagann fan. And I love his voice. He has this really nice Brooklyn voice, this deep one that I'm not sure I'm mimicking correctly. But the name's Bullfrag. The Hurtin' Incursion. His Bullfrag swag and cool factor alone is enough for me to put him at the top of B tier. But he's also acknowledged as like one of the weaker strong aliens. Like, yeah, he can fight. He used his tongue to rip a gun out of someone's hand, and that tongue's pretty neat. That does sound really weird out of context, but I don't know how else to say it. Bullfrag's just cool, okay? I don't know how else to say this. Bullfrag's just awesome, man. Atomics. I really like Atomics. And because he doesn't need to be restricted in a suit to like do some really cool stuff, I'm putting him above NRG. And he can actually like control his radiation. He's like he's kind of like the Superman of Ben's forms. And also probably the physically strongest form besides Alien X and Gravitech. He's just tough. He's going to hit hard. He's going to just beat the shit out of whatever he comes in contact with. I mean, Ben can barely control Atomics' power level sometimes. I mean, the guy hasn't been shown to be like this 100% indestructible mass of strength and durability. I mean, Atomics kind of got the crap kicked out of him by a malware Vilgax fusion, but he's not. He is not a bad alien whatsoever. He even created an energy orb that I think is still in the Honor Phaetos realm to this day, holding Ghost Freak. I mean, is this Scare, who's Ghost Freak's real name, back from doing anything evil again? At least that thing has, as far as I know, hasn't disappeared yet. It's probably not going to go away for like a few hundred years. And at that point, it's like, well, then that's someone else's problem. Or whoever's in the future trying to deal with that guy. Whoever Ben's ancestor is with the new Omnitrix is probably going to deal with that again, and babbity babbity blah. Anyway, Atomics is good. He's cool. And yeah, as I'm sure you noticed, I'm a sucker for, big, brutish, strong aliens sometimes. Except probably Blocks. Just not a big fan of that design at all. And Gut Rot, okay. Now, Gut Rot's a very specialized alien, so you think I'd drop him in D, but I just love that he can control gas. That's really why he's there. He can make virtually any kind of gas. He has the super intelligence to like really know how to use the gas. And I like him far more than Brainstorm, just because I think he's more fun. And honestly, Brainstorm is probably more effective in combat overall than Gut Rot is. Like the guy just generated some gas to control like a female Waybad, which is like an evil version of a Waybig. He just like way big, way bad pheromones to control that thing. So, which tells me that Gutrock can do a lot of stuff. Now, is he effective in like physical combat? Probably not. Which is why he's down here. And actually, I think this is too low for Gutrock. Probably put him here, like right next to Wild Mud and Arctic Guana. And I'm pretty, fine with that. Gutrot is a really cool alien. Even though sometimes I barely understand what the guy's saying, but whatever. I'm not a chemistry major. Not sure how much everything what he says is true, but, Gutrot's enjoyable and entertaining. Vampire, my man, though. Okay. Now, Galactic Monsters was an kind of season. Like, it was fine. But when it comes to Vampire, I love him. I was a sucker for a vampire. Which I think is a pun on how V sometimes sounds like a W in other languages. And that's why he's called a vampire. Or you can just say that's like Ben's version of like, being super strong and just hitting things hard and that makes a wham noise. But I love Vampire. Vampire had like so many good abilities, to be honest with you. I mean, he had flight and super strength, both of which are great, but what he also had was like two ways to control people's minds. He could hypnotize them, he could spit these little bat projectiles that could instantly control someone's mind, even, well, not really control minds, but like control someone's actions and they couldn't resist it. He had this very, very powerful sonic explosion attack. That was. Oh my god, they should have used that way more than the one time. And. Okay. And Vampire turned into an actual little bat one time. And yeah, his weakness is sunlight. That's true. Vampire was like. I don't know. Vampire is my favorite horror alien in the show. He can do so many cool things. Ben nearly bit one of his own allies when he first turned into him, probably because of the predatory instinct instantly taking over. He wasn't quite used to that yet, but Vampire, my man, he was so cool, I loved Vampire. Really not much else to say. I think he was great. Like, if there's anything that anyone can enjoy about Vampire, to me, just all the cool things he can do, all the powers that he has. He's like You're like one of my favorite aliens in all of Omniverse. You know? Uh, got distracted again. Thought he saw something interesting. Maybe you're wrong. Anyway, if I could just, I could keep gushing on about Vampire. They like crammed a whole bunch of Vampire appearances in the final season as well. Well deserved cramming in, I will say. The guy, like, Vampire's good. He's awesome. I love him. There's really nothing bad I can say about Vampire. He's strong. I don't know what else I can say that I haven't already said about Vampire. It's just he's one of the best aliens in the show. Straight up. And I guess that's kind of it. Wow, I cannot make a non-top heavy tier list, it seems. There's very few aliens I dislike. And the ones that I do generally because they're just kind of useless. Either like very specialized and kind of weak, or one weakness, but they're still kind of cool, And Black's just like blah. And yeah, we're not rating the reboot because I haven't seen every episode and I can't really judge them like super fairly over the course of their entire like show. I'm not even sure if the reboot's like actually done. But yeah, here's the tier list. God tier, Alien X, Gravitat Clockwork, S tier, Humongosaur, Way Big, Wrath, Feedback, Forearms, Accelerate, Atomics, NRG, Heat Blast, Vampire, Big Chill, Swampire, Astrodactyl, A tier, Echo Echo, Shock Squatch, Chroma Stone, Armadillo, Diamond Head, Cannonbolt, Ghost Freak, Frankenstrike, Jet Ray. B tier, Bullfrag, Eagle, Snarrow, Goop, Amphibian, Buzzshock, Kickin' Hawk, Upgrade, Terraspin, Upchuck. C tier, Blitzwolfer, Crash Hopper, Stinkfly, Brainstorm, Spider Monkey, Nanomech, Water Hazard, Wildvine, Lodestar, Eye Guy, Wild Mutt, Gut Rot, Arctiguana, Pesky Dust, Spitter, Fast Track, Gut Rot, D tier, Chameleon, Rip Jaws, Ball Weevil, Jury Rig, Blocks. E tier, Ditto, Mustache, and Gray Matter. F tier, Walkatrout, and the worst. And reboot tier, Overflow, Gax, Shock Rock, Slapback, and Surge, I think it was. I feel like it should be Surge since it's shaped like an X. Oh well. Anyway, that's the tier list, and I hope you all at least enjoyed and understood my opinions. This has been Sora Donald Goofy 99, and I will come back later with another video when I come up with an idea. Peace out.